Everybody wants to get their business booming locally and globally. And Books to Boom Your Business brings to you authors, speakers, entrepreneurs who have powerful books that will make and keep your business and your personal lives booming. Welcome to the show, Books to Boom Your Business. Imagine being in a country or being in a world away from your country and serving your country with love, with grit, and with power dynamically, keeping intact all the things that you need to keep, but also keeping intact with what the laws of the land are. I know it sounds like a lot. I know. As a person who's been in the military, I understand what that means. And many of you out there are military affiliated in some shape or form or fashion. You may have been active military at one time. You may have taken care of someone, being their spouse in the military, or you may be a veteran. But in any capacity, whether you're one of those or just a person who have reaped the benefits of someone being in the military, guess what? They've pledged an allegiance, not just to the country, but to you. And today, we're going to share some amazing things on Books to Boom Your Business. We have a phenomenal young lady with us today, and she's written this amazing book, I Pledge Allegiance. It's a journey through the words that shaped a nation. And she's none other than the incomparable LaWanna Bradford. She's an author, she's a speaker, she's a teacher, she's a trainer, she's a CFO. But most important, she's here with us today. So imagine hearing her voice. Imagine hearing what she has to say. Wouldn't that be great? Well, you don't have to wait. Please welcome author and COO of the Bradford Group, LaWanna Bradford. All right, y'all, she's here. Give it up, give it up, give it up, give it up. Yeah, she is here. The author, the queen, the amazing and incomparable Miss LaWanna Bradford. Hello, welcome to the show.
Hey, Dr. Lotus, thank you so much for having me. I so appreciate this opportunity.
It's always a pleasure to have you here on the show. And today is a special day. It's a very special day, not just because we're alive, but because you're here. And I'm really excited to really get into who you are a bit more. You've been on a couple of my shows, and many of my guests are familiar with you. And they've touched your heart, and you've touched their heart in so many ways. Yet I want to tell people a bit more about you. We know that you're a strategic growth architect, that you help entrepreneurs and leaders focus to reframe and scale with clarity. We know that you spend a lot of time in your home in Atlanta and all the way out in Arizona. But right now, you're here in this house in Books to Boom Your Business. So let's dive right in. Let's tell people more about who you are. And then we're going to dive right into your book, because your book is the featured book today, I Pledge Allegiance, a journey through the words that shape a nation. LaWanna?
Yes. Again, thank you. So where would you like me to start? How far back do you want me to go?
Look, you are the guest. Go as far back as you would like, as far as you feel comfortable, because this is our time. Go ahead.
Well, again, I am excited to be here to talk about this topic. I pledge allegiance, a journey through the words that shaped a nation. And how I came about even writing this book was a year ago, a little over a year ago, actually, to be exact, the 69th day. So think about that interesting number. 69th day of the new administration.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember seeing something on TV, and it just made me boil inside. I thought, I cannot believe what I'm seeing and watching. And I started to talk to the TV, like the TV is really going to talk back to me. And I said, okay, what can I do? And I started journaling because I needed to find a way to frame all the emotions that I was feeling at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And this journaling continued for about 3 weeks. Every day I was just journaling, how I was being impacted by the changes that were happening. And what was my true voice? What was my truth in this? And I looked back on the writings as I was reading them and scribing them. And I said, well, I think I may have a framework for a book. I might, I'm not certain. And that's really how this book was born. I thought about the pledge and what the pledge says. And then I was using that as the mirror to how we're actually experiencing life today. And so that's the whole backstory. If you want, I can go into what my connection with the flag beyond being born within this country.
Yes. So here, I do have a few questions for you, but I wanted you to get us started because I was going to sit back and sip. Chia seeds and lemon with water. So if you don't have something to sip, everybody get something to sip, but stay in the broadcast. So I do have a few questions for you, as I always do. I want to know from you the connection that you have with this I pledge allegiance, because your father served this country proudly alongside your mother, because she was with him wherever he went, alongside you and your sibling.
Yes.
And when that happens, we are serving too, in the capacity of helping that service member do what he or she has to do to serve the country. So I'd like for you to talk to us about that, what that means to you, and how that contributed to where you are today.
Certainly. So growing up as a military brat, Army brat to be specific, and living throughout the U.S. and abroad, you really learn your civic identity, if you will. And at a very young age, from kindergarten, I started to lean into, because I started school in Italy, not here in the U.S. I started to lean into what it meant, to wave this flag, what it meant to stand and pledge allegiance in another country, what it meant to be unified with my classmates of fathers who were, of other branches of service.
Right.
And I was too young to really understand the impact and what it means when another country is present somewhere else, when another country is represented, I should say, in a foreign country. But I knew it meant something. I knew it was powerful. I knew at that time, which was in the late 60s, America was deemed just magical, right? It was like, we weren't looked upon as, ooh, those ugly Americans, which we now hear sometimes. And it was a sense of pride. And also being overseas, my very first exposure to the highest office of the land, the president, was in my first grade class. I met President Nixon. May not be people's favorite, but again, I'm a little kid, I'm wide-eyed, that the president of the United States came in to read to my first grade class, and I actually sat on his lap. And I knew that there was something really important and special about what he was representing. And then my father, he served in the military for 30 years, and he always says, don't forget the 30 days. But the interesting thing is, my father grew up in a different era. When he came in, it was 1948. It was still a segregated army. I'm a proud daughter of an actual Buffalo soldier. And to hear his lens of this country, to be born in the Depression. He was born in 1930, lived 94 years, saw so many changes. Like he said, when he was born, they were colored. Then they were African American, no, colored, then Negro, then African American, then Afro American, then Black, then back to African American. He goes, we were everything, whatever fit at the time. But the thing that he mentioned was the importance in finding your own truth and your identity. And it first starts with your family. Well, let me back up. First starts with your love for God, because we're a family of faith, your family, and then your love of country. So that just gives you a little bit of history of, my exposure to different things at a very young age, but also walking with a man who, as I tell people all the time, if you had slit Dad's wrist, he would have bled red, white, and blue. He was a patriot through and through.
Yes. Now, I want to share something with you that to me was very profound. And it really touched my heart, because there's something that you shared about your dad and the message with it all, that you've been through more pain than people think of, but you never gave up. Despite everything you've been through, you've remained strong and unbreakable. You're beautiful to watch, but dangerous to mess with. I thought that was so profound, because, a lot of times people only see one side of us, but you got to see your dad in a multifaceted way. You got to see him as the philanthropist. You got to see him as the military man. You got to see him as the husband. You got to see him as a father. But most importantly, you got that tenacity from him to never give up. And tell us about this red.
Yeah, so the red represents just the fire within us. And often we will allow life circumstances to start to dim that fire, or even quench the fire. And I get it, life happens. But I believe within each person, there is a seed of grit and greatness, that if you can find a way to identify your anchor, then no matter what waves come, you're not going to be overtaken by them. You're going to learn how to stay in front of it, ride it, but you will not be consumed by it. And it's really having that, as Winston Churchill said, never, never give up. It's embedding that so deeply in your subconscious that quitting doesn't become an option. It's like, okay, if you close this door, I'm going to figure out a way around it. Or if I feel broken and hurt and defeated, which we've all been, it's like, okay, I recognize this, I feel it. Now, how do I rise above it? How do I grow from it? And so that's what the red represents. And it represents, again, the fire within us, but then the blood, the life force, right? So.
Wow, the life force. So can we talk about that for a moment? The life force, because I know, LaWanna, through a lot of the things you've come through, and you've come through a lot. You've come through divorce. You've come through your business almost collapsing and being sued, and losing loved ones, like your dad, for instance, who had a tremendous impact on your life. But your life force continues to shine. And you somehow have taken that life force and you sprinkle it on the lives of others. How do you do that as a pledge from your life and not be depleted?
I believe when you are walking in your zone of genius, and again, I'm saying in your zone of genius, I'm not talking about purpose, but when you're walking where your gifting and your talents show up, it doesn't feel like a burden. It doesn't feel like work to show up and serve someone else, because that service in turn is the cistern, if you will, that is replenishing me. So how I do it is I do it because it's an extension of me and it comes back into me. So there's always more to give. Where I find myself being exhausted and tapped out is when I'm operating someplace where I'm not supposed to be.
I like that. I like that. Somebody put that in the chat. When you're tapped out, you just might not be operating where you're supposed to be operating. And a lot of times we do that. We give so much to everyone else. We are running here and there for everybody else, and then we're tapped out. And then oftentimes there's no one there in many cases to pick us up. So I like that.
Exactly. And if I may, Dr. Lotus, sometimes we don't know how to use the most important word in the English language, and that's N-O.
No.
Right? And
Yes.
so we end up stepping out of where we need to be. We feel stretched because we've extended our capacity. Then we start to get frustrated. We start to get bitter and angry, and all of that stuff starts to agitate us, and we find ourselves in a diseased state.
Right.
Right?
Yep. I like that you say that, because not only are you telling people it's okay to say no, but we must tell people no, because when we don't, when we really should, we do end up in a state of disease. So folks out there, remember to say no. Go ahead and put that in the chat, you all. Remember to say no. It's okay to say no. So let me ask you this. When did you really learn to say no?
I would say not too long ago, probably within the last 10 years. And again, it's because coming from a military background, right? You're always finding way to serve. So I'm raised by a sergeant major, right? So it's about staying in the lines and coloring, following guidelines, policies, etc. Never quitting. All of that can sometimes trip you up and have you, again, get in a place of overextending yourself.
That's correct.
And I was feeling just angry. Like you're looking around, it's like, okay, why is my life like this? This wasn't the plan. It's a good life, but this wasn't my plan. Well, the reason why you have the life you have is because I was doing the things that actually reflected back to me the reality I was living in. And I had to accept, Dr. Lotus, responsibility of that. Like, oh my gosh, you mean I actually created this? What do I need to do to change it? Right? So changing my mindset first, changing what I'm intentionally committed to.
Yes.
Then saying no and not feeling bad about saying no.
Yes. You heard me say, because that's some good secret sizzling sauce right there. And I didn't put a question mark behind that, y'all, because I was too busy going, that's some good stuff right there. If you have anger, how are you dealing with it? Because I heard you say that you took responsibility. One thing that I've learned is that we have to acknowledge that we're even in the space of anger.
Yes.
And when we acknowledge that we're in the space of anger, then we can accept it. And we see Kim Jacobs from the Kim Jacobs Show. Hey there, Kim. Great to see you. Great to see everybody. I'm seeing so many people stream in. Please share this out, because this is getting really, really juicy. When we're in the space of anger, LaWanna, a lot of times we're afraid and ashamed to even say that that's how we feel. Have you ever experienced that? And if so, what did you do about it?
Oh, I experienced that this morning. we can get really raw and real if you want to go there.
Let's go there. Here's some secret sizzling sauce, y'all.
So without divulging too much detail, last night something was brought to my attention. And basically I was excluded from this particular group, even though I'm thinking online that the other group is still active. And I was wondering, well, why isn't anyone responding to my post? That's odd. And I just happened to have this sidebar conversation, and I was told, oh, we decided to create a new group. And I said, okay. Well, is there any reason why I wasn't part of this group, given I started the original group? They
Wow.
said, oh, there was some confidential things we wanted to talk about. I'm like, okay, Mayday, we're all kind of equal players here.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't push it. I just said, all right. And when I hung up the phone, I cried. There was so much anger and rage, right? So sometimes rage comes out in different ways. For me, it's tears.
Yes.
And I just sat there, and it was about an hour just releasing all of that. Went to bed, and I said, hopefully I'll wake up and I'll go on not thinking about it. I woke up in the exact same state of rage,
Mm-hmm.
which meant I didn't really release it in forgiveness.
Right.
Right? I may have released the emotion, but I didn't release
Mm-hmm.
the tie, right?
Right.
That mental tie to say, I truly can forgive. I don't understand it, but I'm gonna forgive you. And I'm gonna turn my head and let it go. So I went walking. I do my walks every day, my meditation, and I'm walking. It's a power walk. I'm every step I'm angry, you know. And God, I just heard God say, why are you so mad? And I said, well, they excluded me.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, how do you know it was them?
Hello.
And I was like, what? I said, no, but God, I created this group over here. He said, I never told you to create that group. I didn't tell you to pick that up. But you weren't listening to me. And when I thought back, there were indicators like, LaWanna, pull back, pull back. So again, in his own divine way, God's like, okay, you're not listening. I'll have them give you the boot.
Show you.
Yeah, they're going to give you the subtle boot.
Right.
Because you still, and it's like 2 weeks have gone and you haven't figured out why no one's answering your post because you're the only one left in the chat.
Only one in the group. You're the only one in the group.
So that's just, it's a funny example, but it's also very real because I allowed where I walked into a place I shouldn't have been. I was forcing myself to stay there, even though there were indicators. And then when the shift changed, then I got angry.
Right.
And trying to hold on. And I think that's where we hurt ourselves. We know that it is time for a change. It's time to move. It's time to shift. But we like our little comfy slippers, or we're so in love with our idea that we don't want to let the baby go. And God's like, it's time for someone else to adopt the baby. I don't want you to have this baby.
Yep.
So that was just literally hours ago. I had to just say, wow. I can see it. And once I got that clarity,
right,
then I could release. Then I could woosah, right? Say it's fine.
Then you can let go.
I can let go.
So first I want to say, let's everybody in the chat, please share this out, send this out. And then I'd like you to put some L for love, send some hearts, send some thumbs up. Let's go ahead and send Miss LaWanna some love, because no matter how strong we are, things happen. And when things happen like this, sometimes it can knock the wind out of our sails. Okay. And one thing about this show, Books to Boom Your Business, and any show that I host, it's about love. It's about inspiration. It's about helping to pick people up and helping to let them know that they're cared for and they're not alone. Okay? Books to Boom Your Business helps to book your business, your life, but the you that's birthing your book, that's birthing your life, that's birthing your show. So LaWanna, so many people are sending hearts. And for those of you that's just coming in, go ahead and put your hearts in, because as we go on with the show, you're going to say, oh, I wish I had put my hearts in. So just put them in anyway. And those of you that are watching this on a rebroadcast or what have you, go ahead and put your hearts in. Let's send LaWanna some love. And LaWanna, I want to thank you for sharing that, because you're always so transparent. And many people, they won't share that because they're worried about what the theys might say. As I always say, my book, The Theys. But you know what? I've learned several things along the way. I've learned that people will hurt you on purpose. I watched a broadcast this morning with Dr. Tina Ramsey, and she was sharing some great things this morning, and some things about hurt, forgiveness, and just some sensational things. And so this must be the week of this. And so I'm happy that we're closing out this week with this show. And I know Books to Boom, we're talking about her book, but we're also talking about the life. All right. So I want to say this. We have Ayala Van Zandt. I remember when I was hurt and going through some stuff, and I want to share this with you, LaWanna. In her book, it was called In the Meantime by Ayala Van Zandt. She said, "You don't forgive people for them, you forgive them for you." And so I'm so happy that you are showing up in a way where you're forgiving you for you, maybe not hearing or listening at the time when God was saying, "Nope, my daughter, go the other way." And forgiving them for trying to take what you created, because that does happen. Okay. And with that, it reminds me of a book by Mel Robbins called Let Them.
Yes.
So let them do whatever they need to do. And I'm saying this to all of you viewers. Some of you may be going through some stuff. God knows I am. But it's not about me. It's about all of you. That's why we're here today. Let them. And remember to pledge your allegiance. And you might be saying, Dr. Lotus, what do you mean about pledge your allegiance? What I'm saying is this. No matter what happens in life, you've got to remember to be just like her dad, to be that strong person, to have that red, that color of your soul. Even though you're going through things, you're going to make it. You are making it. Heck, a lot of us, we've already made it through the storm. We've been strong and we're still strong. And guess what? We are unbreakable. And continue to go on, because you know what? You're dangerous to mess with. You ever heard that song? God don't play about me. God don't play about LaWanna. God don't play about you. So just remember that, okay? And so I'm so happy that you shared that, because when we talk about I pledge allegiance, you talk about a lot of the struggles that people have been through to get to where we are today. So I want to dive more into who this book is for. Who this book is for. And I say that because when you go to Amazon, everybody, you can go to Amazon and get this book, and you'll see it scrolling from time to time. But when you go to Amazon and you get this book tells you who it's for. Okay. And I want to read a little bit more about this. Okay. I pledge allegiance. It's not just a book. It's a soul searching journey through the words we recite and the truths we live through the eyes of our guest, LaWanna Bradford. It's a patriot visionary and a daughter of a Buffalo soldier, and she shared that with us. This work helps to unpack the Pledge of Allegiance line by line, each chapter a mirror reflecting the beauty, pain, pride, and paradox of America with piercing honesty and heartfelt reverence. And she explains it and what it means to stand for a nation that has at times stood against you, the average American, or the person even abroad. And it doesn't matter if you're a student, if you're a history major, if you are whatever you are, if you're just a seeker of justice or a proud member of the armed services. This book is for you, but not only for you. If you are a churchgoer, if you are a mother, if you are a friend of a friend of a friend, this book will open your eyes in a way that they probably have never been opened before. It's about history, heritage, and hope. Look at the shirt she's got on the front cover of her book. And so, LaWanna, I could go on for days and days and days. And I invite you all to go and get this book today. And so, LaWanna, I'd like you, please, to share a passage from this book. But before you share that passage, I want to ask you something, because in this book, you talk about some things that are heavy to say, that people may not want to say, that they're afraid to say, and it took courage to do it, to unwrap it, to address it. Where did you find that courage? And were you afraid to say some of the things that you said in this book?
No, I wasn't afraid to say it. As I mentioned, just that anger and frustration with the changes that were happening, and it's like, what can I do? How can I be a voice in the chaos and the noise to create some sense of awareness? Because I think once we are not only self-aware but situationally aware, then we can become the catalyst to affect positive change. But if I'm on the sidelines, complaining about what's going on, but not really seeing how I may or may not be a part of it, then I'm never going to see the possibilities or the doors of opportunity. And so this book, it's not a political book at all. It's not political. It's not partisan.
Right.
But it speaks to the truth of this country. And here we are, on the eve of the 250th day of our independence, of this nation's independence. I want to say the nation.
The nation.
But we know that there were so many other people, from your indigenous to your African Americans to your Asian to your Hispanics, that weren't even considered citizens.
Exactly.
At the time, of 250 years ago. And so this is really about, again, that was then, but but then does have an impression on how we show up now. There is an imprint on our DNA. There are microaggressions that we still deal with. But in understanding who you are and how you use the pledge as a reflection.
Yes.
The question is now, what role will you play? Because I tell people all the time, Dr. Lotus, the pledge is an ideal.
Mm-hmm.
This country is built on ideals. It's an ideal. And I would like to go into that a little bit. I put something up. I don't know if you're able to pull it up.
Yes.
From a segregated military to modern movements for justice, this book uplifts the stories often left in the margins. With a rare blend of poetic grace and historical insight, Bradford moves beyond retelling American ideals. She reimagines them through the lived lens of those too often pushed to the margins. Black women who carried burdens and dreams, indigenous ancestors whose sacred truths still echo, immigrant allies who stood shoulder to shoulder in faith and sacrifice, and unsung patriots who, despite betrayal, still believed in the promise of America. I pledge allegiance is a love letter to resilience, a reckoning with history, and a call to rise, not with bitterness, but with clarity, conviction, and hope. It's a reminder that patriotism is not silence, it is speaking truth while holding the flag in one hand and faith in the other.
Yes, everybody. Yes. Grab your book. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. We needed to hear that. We needed to know that. So, folks, grab your book today. So, let's talk a bit more. I know you have another engagement coming up. So, we just want to wrap with making sure we share the most important things to
Sure.
you.
I want to first just actually go through the pledge. It's very simple, right?
Yes.
And many of us grew up reciting it. Those who immigrated, when you became a citizen, you recited it.
Yep.
And we do sometimes we do things over and over again,
Mm-hmm.
and we don't realize why we're doing it. And so for me, what I found out, one of the biggest lessons, Dr. Lotus, in writing it, is it was our earliest form for those of us that grew up in this country, excuse me, the earliest form of indoctrination,
Yep.
right? Over and over again, we said this. But did anyone really explain it to you? Did you know what the words meant in that simple stanza? So I pledge allegiance. You're saying I pledge loyalty, right? I pledge to be aligned to the flag. Before, the original version said to my flag, because we're a nation of immigrants, but they changed it and said, no, it's going to be to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic. The republic is the people. The republic is the people for which it stands. One nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This pledge was actually written in 1892. You would think, oh, it was written in 1776 when we became a nation. No, 1892, post Civil War, and the Francis Bellamy was commissioned to write this and to give it to school children as a way to indoctrinate them that we are one nation, right? We're not this divided country. The under God piece wasn't put in until 1954. Why? Because we were in the middle of a Cold War, communism, right? And the US. So we had to put under God to show we're not them, right? They're not like us, kind of a thing. And right.
The us against them.
Us against them. But what I want people to understand, the way this book is written, it's not a book that you read from cover to cover and everyone reaches the same conclusion. What makes this book so unique is your life is your life, your lived experiences are your lived experiences. And that's the lens that you're going to read the book from. And every chapter gives you some points of reflection. And at the end, you're going to come to your own conclusion. Some of you may say, well, that's great, LaWanna, I love what you said, but I'm still going to be an expat. That's your choice. But for me, in going through it and answering the questions for myself, and some of the questions are pretty hard, I realized in all of our flaws, in all the ugliness that's going on, I, LaWanna Bradford, I choose to pledge allegiance. And so that's what the book is designed to do, is to make people think. What do they believe? What do they value? It's not condemning right or wrong. It's not about that. It's your life, your lane. And how are you going to live and carry out your truth? And again, the pledge is merely an ideal of possibilities of what we can become.
And you have to trust your own self. You know, there's been a lot that has gone on in this country. There's been a lot that has gone on globally. But here's one thing that I realized, and I never thought of it this way until you just really said it, that it's what we pledge to do for ourselves, for this country. Because here's the thing, with the way that things are happening now, if we say we're just going to send it to hell in a handbasket, then what our ancestors fought for, we're surrendering.
Exactly.
And we don't want to surrender that because they fought too hard. Blood, sweat, tears, and loss of lives for us to just walk away. And so, LaWanna, I want you to come back to the show because you're just a breath of fresh air every time you come. want you to come back to the show, Books to Boom Your Business. I want to really talk more about the book. I'd like for you to choose a chapter, okay, that you would like to unravel for us. Okay. I don't know. This might turn into a workshop, you all. If you all want this to turn into a workshop, let us know. Put a 10 in the comment. Make sure you share this out. Invite your friends. I don't know. Who knows? But I will say this. I would also like for one of you readers, somebody that has gotten your book already or getting your book, I want you to go through the book. There we go. I want you to go through that book and look at a chapter that really hits home for you. And we're already getting some 10s. We're already getting some 10s in here. I want you to go through that chapter, one of those chapters that really hit home for you. And I'd like for you to join me on our show and talk with, as I call her, Dr. LaWanna Bradford. Only God knows, okay, about that particular chapter. Because if it's important to you, it's important to us. So, LaWanna, I know you've got a lot going on. What's your next step with the book? Are you having a book signing somewhere, or you're showcasing it anywhere coming up soon?
Yes, we've done several showcases. The next one is actually tomorrow in Arizona.
Okay.
So it makes sense, right? I pledge allegiance. It's our Independence Day. So it will be out. I won't be there, but I have a team that's going to be marketing it as part of the work of the Buffalo Soldiers. And like this book here, that's my dad right there. And it speaks to legacy. It also speaks to history. And the future. And if I may, I would like to read one little section in this book.
Yes, please.
So the piece I'm going to read is quite interesting because it wasn't written by me. And it wasn't plagiarized. I gave credit. It was written by my father, Sergeant Major retired Harlan L. Bradford Sr. And he wrote this in 1974. 1974. So when I was going through some of his paperwork after he passed, I found this. And when I wrote the book, I thought, oh my gosh, I've got to put that piece at the end of the book. And it says the advancement of human dignity. And that's what this book is talking about. You know, if you're talking about the Republic, we the people, we have to treat each other with love, dignity, respect, and kindness.
Right, exactly.
And and so this is what it says. The advancement of human dignity. Webster's New World Dictionary defines dignity as worthiness, nobility, high repute, honor, self-possession, and self-respect. These are descriptive attributes of early leaders of our nation, and they are directly related to their success in welding together this vast and great country of ours, the United States of America. Our national heritage is based on our foundational founding fathers' strength, courage to respect the rights of everyone and to apply the principles of human dignity to all by leading without instilling fear in the people, without spreading hate, and without painting recognition by inciting others to action solely for personal gain, for elevation of stature and position. They set our standards by meritorious service and good leadership. Our nation was founded by men who believed in God and human dignity for all mankind. History proves, and the events of today prove that men who are able to gain power and leadership of their nation by fear, violence, and undignified outbursts and lack of concern for human dignity of the people will one day destroy themselves and their government. To ensure that we continue to enjoy the type of leadership and the way of life which are directed toward the advancement of human dignity for all, we must never forget the example of worthiness, honor, high repute, and self-respect set by our founding fathers. We must demand that of our present and future leadership must reflect these same qualities.
Wow.
So again, 1974 he wrote that. And you would think he was writing about today, right?
Exactly. And it's so difficult that it in 1974 he wrote about that. How many years ago between then and now has it been? And it seems like we're in the same situation.
Yeah, 52 years ago, he wrote that book.
Yeah.
But he wrote that. And in fact, he actually, it was actually submitted for an award-winning short entry. And it made me think at that time, you know, where Civil Rights Act has been passed, we have more Blacks going into the workforce. You're looking at, you know, Vietnam is coming to a close. There's a lot happening. There's a lot of tension still
Yes.
in the nation at that time. But it seemed there's a prophetic part in that where he's like, we cannot instill fear, right?
Right.
These outbursts. And I'm thinking, wow, that sounds like something like something we're experiencing right now.
Yes, we are experiencing it. And I heard you say it sounds like it is. We're
It is.
experiencing that now. And so we know that if we don't change it in the now, it will repeat itself in the future.
Yes.
And I believe that your book is one of the touchstones that's going to help us to rise above and make the changes that we need to make. And here it is. It starts one person at a time.
Yeah.
It starts one person at a time.
Yeah, one person, and then you have the conversation. And I tell people if this book has moved you in any way that causes a little shift in you, then have the conversation at your dinner table. Don't look at changing the world.
Yep.
Change your family structure and helping your kids to really understand this, because I believe if you change one life, you've changed the next generation.
I agree.
Right?
And I want to share something. When you look back, everyone, you may get upset. You may be furious, but I want to share this. Coming out of Ghana, Miss Maurice said, for me, I just disconnect and stay calm when I'm angry and not think about it. Music helps me a lot. So play the music of your life or play this video. Play this video right here. Right? Play this video right here.
From a segregated military to modern movements for justice, this book uplifts the stories often left in the margins.
And find your solace. And find your solace. So with no further ado, we're looking forward to seeing you next week on Books to Boom Your Business, where our guest will be a phenomenal man. We'll talk about that later on, Mr. Thornton, Kevin Thornton. And I just want to say, Kevin, we send you love and prayers. He just had a family member that was lost. So to him, we send love and prayers. And to the Bradford family, we thank you for sharing LaWanna with us today, for sharing your very best. We thank you. And to her father, we salute you. So, LaWanna, that's right. Wave your flag. Wave your flag. We thank you again for being here. What's next? When are we going to see you again on your show? I know you got another show coming up. Tell the folks about your show and how they can connect with you on your show.
Yeah, please follow me on social media, and that's where I advertise. Actually, I have 3 TV shows. One deals with authors. So if you're an author, just like this platform, you want more exposure, reach out to me or Dr. Lotus, and we'll talk about how we can feature you. Also, if you're a business and financial expert, we have Business and Financial Raw Talk. And lastly, if you're willing to push the envelope, just like this book here, and you want to talk about how you're going to be a warrior for change, we definitely want to talk to you, and that's on Choose to Challenge.
Choose to Challenge. And so I challenge yourself to get deep in the secret sauce and get lost in Choose to Challenge, because when you sign up for any of her shows, you are going to help recreate yourself and make yourself better. So with no further ado, we're sending this back to you with love and light. We look forward to seeing you next time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for watching the show. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Ring that bell so you won't miss a thing. And we'll see you on the next episode of Books to Boom Your Business. If you want to be a guest on the show, please connect with us at Lotus at LotusRicheIgnitesYou.com. Books to Boom Your Business brings to you authors, speakers, entrepreneurs who have powerful books that will make and keep your business and your personal lives booming.